Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner with Heck and King. We have a special Final Four preview for you today, so let's get started. All right, no theatrics on this. We're just jumping right into it. Here we are. Here's the show. We have a special guest.
Yes,
we've made it.
Woo. Yes,
Coach Hudson, we've got the southern influence going today. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing. Oh, you talking to me? Or are you talking to Jamie?
I'm talking to Jamie.
Good. Qualify that because we're all coaches. You go, how you doing, Coach?
Oh, it's good.
He's going, I'm cool. I'm going, I'm cool.
They're all cool.
The only person that won't answer
we're all
is
coaches,
except the kid,
except for me.
Yeah. So welcome. Hey, well, Heck, tell me about your trip real quick.
No, everything was great.
You're not home.
No, I'm hanging out in Florida. It's going to be a great week. Gonna put my hair in a ponytail. Gonna not shave. Going to have a blast. Enjoy some time with my lovely wife. And the trip down was really cool. But I have a couple questions that I want to ask you guys, and I want you to ponder upon these questions. All right. Number one, I'm listening to great music. Listen to great music on the way down.
Like right? Springsteen.
Just a lot of great
music. Okay.
The Black Sedan Band.
But I got to ask you this question. So I'm listening to a song called Brandy it's called Brandy by Looking Glass, and it's about this fine looking girl who's a waitress, and she's fallen in love with this guy who's a sailor, and the guy tells her he says I love the sea more than I love you. Now, how can that be when Brandy's supposed to be this fine look? How can a guy say, I love the sea more than I love you? Ponder that for a minute. I don't even care if it's a song. How can you just leave Brandy hanging like that? Well, first of all, I can tell you don't know the song.
He must be a stud, because if he thinks he's that important that he can like the sea better than he can as the ladies.
I mean, I'm thinking Brandy, the way they're describing her, she's this fine lady. She lives in a port, in a town with a port.
I've heard the song.
She's a waitress. You've heard the song, and I'm thinking to myself,
but just don't.
I'm thinking to myself that this guy, that God is great, beer is good, and this guy is crazy, man. That's what I'm thinking to myself. That's exactly what I'm thinking to myself. And then point number two, man. And then point number two. I'm listening to another song, me and Bobby McGee. Okay. I love Janis Joplin. So how does Janis Joplin let Bobby head up to a town in Salinas, and she lets him slip away? I mean, she's in love with Bobby McGee. I don't care what the songwriter does here, but how does he let Bobby McGee slip away? And then she goes on for the next 3 minutes talking about how she misses Bobby McGee. Ponder that for a second. You want to talk about the Final Four? Think that through a little bit, man.
That is deep stuff.
No, that's what I'm thinking about on an 18-hour trip to Florida. That gets me through, so I don't fall asleep. How does this happen, man?
That's why we're not songwriters, because.
And anyway, I digress, and it is so good to see you guys. It's great to see Jamie. I didn't coach against you when I was down at Edgewood, but I've always heard great things about you, and you had a great run at Eastern with the great with the great Mark Barnheiser, and so obviously we want to hear some stuff about your time and your relationship with Dusty May, who's he's in the Final Four. He's coaching in the Final Four, and that's just got to be so exciting for you and the rest of your friends that hung with Dusty and Eastern, right?
Yeah, it's been a really cool experience this week. I started school with Dusty, I think, in 5th grade when I moved back to Eastern, and so he's been my teammate since 5th grade. And we had our wars, and our class was really good. I think Barnheiser started working with us as 7th grade or 5th graders, and just coming in 7th grade year, we come in the mornings at 6:30, and we'd be going against Jerry Ingram and guys like that, and he's yelling at us because we're getting scored on by a 35-year-old man, and here I'm a 13-year-old boy and just getting manhandled. He's ripping us, but it made us tougher. And you know Coach Miller, Scott Miller, right? Heck,
yeah. Scott was on my staff at Edgewood for a couple of years.
Yeah, so
then he went on to be a head coach.
Yeah, so he was my 8th grade coach, and I love Coach Miller, and I are tight. I mean, he's my guy, and the story is that Coach Barnheiser told him if he lost a game with us, our 8th grade year, he was firing him. And so we go 35-0 that year, and he goes up to be our JV coach, and just had a lot of great moments with him, and so by our senior year, we go 38-5 in those 2 years, and we had to play in that dang B&L sectional. With Bloomington North, Bloomington South, B&L, Edgewood, Brown County, and us. And here we are sitting with about 300 and some kids trying to compete with there. And, that's where I get kind of a little soured with, I wish we would have stayed down our own sectional, because I think we could have won a couple sectionals those 2 years. So to see Dusty play, I mean, it's pretty cool moment. I know our town's going crazy, our community anyway. And we're having a big watch party tomorrow.
I was going to say, probably the sporting goods stores have got all kinds of Florida Atlantic stuff bouncing around the sporting goods stores. And
yeah, right here.
I see you.
There it is right there, man.
Yeah. And that stuff will go in your closet, and 20 years from now, you'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that. 2023.
Was Dusty a good player?
Yeah, he's very solid point guard, just a hard-nosed defender, great leader on the floor. It's a guy you wanted in your foxhole. When it came Friday, Saturday night, you knew he was going to be, have your back, and he knew you'd have his back. So, that's the type of kid he was.
So you guys made I got the little article on Sports Illustrated. Have you seen that in the magazine? They got you quoted in there, and got some Barnheiser quotes and all kinds of stuff. You guys hit the big time.
Well, that was pretty cool seeing Pat Forday this week. We got to meet with him. Then we did NCAA. I've done 3 or 4 TV stations this week, but nothing beats this one right now.
And that's exactly what I'm telling you, because I made you at the beginning think a little bit, right? You had to think, man. Right. I mean, it's not basketball.
Bobby McGee and Brady.
No, and that's one of the things that I bring to this show. I mean, we can all shoot. I mean, we all know how to shoot. We know how to slide. Scott's one of the best shooters here, but it's the ability to think and to get 18 hours out of those 2 questions for myself, man, and not to come up with an answer. All right. So it's hoops now. So tell me then about Dusty. Dusty goes to IU, and he becomes a manager at IU then.
Yeah. First he goes to play and plays at Oakland City for, I think, about either half a year or a year. And then he just says, "Hey, I'm going to go to IU," and that's when he becomes a manager. And then I think from there he goes a few other stops. I think Henry Bibby out at USC, maybe I think Eastern Michigan, then Louisiana Tech. Some other places like that, and then follows Mike White to Florida, and then goes to Florida Atlantic. That's where Mike White's brother is, and the rest is history.
Now I'm trying to think. I was listening to something on the radio today. It was talking about how one of the schools passed on him. He interviewed for a job a couple of years ago someplace, and they went with somebody else, and they said, "Yeah, look what happened now." He ends up down in Boca Raton with this. So I thought that was just interesting how coaches, like you said, move from place to place, and all of a sudden, here they are. Just like Coach was talking about, Larinaga was at Bowling Green when he was at Ball State back in the late '80s. Things like that.
No. And what a great coach he was at Bowling Green. Obviously, he could dance a little bit better than he does now, but he loves those traps. He used to love those traps at half court. He used to love all that stuff. Let me ask you this question. Coach, did he at any time ask you to go with him and work on his coaching staff, or any of the other guys from Eastern?
Not that. The only one I know that I know they stay in contact is Mike Burris, who's at the University of Indy. He was the Alney coach for all those years. He was one of our other teammates. And I was telling Coach King the other night, we've got out of our team, we've got 3 kids, 3 guys coaching right now.
Yeah.
And then you throw in JB Neal, I mean, and Jeff Allen, who's a girls coach at BNL. I mean, it's a pretty cool to see all these coaches coming from such a small school like Eastern Greene.
Yeah, that is really cool and really unique. Kind of reminds me of my time when I was the head coach at Wapahani High School, and guys like Chris Benedict played for me and went on. Robbie New played for me. Joey Bradburn played for me. Wayne Barker played for me. So when you get into those little towns like that, and basketball becomes really your life, and I mean the town really puts you guys on a pedestal, and first of all, you love basketball anyway, and then you think and you say, so what am I going to do with my life? And you're going to say, man, Coach Barnheiser was really good. All these coaches were great. Why don't I be a coach? And that's kind of how it starts, and then your coaching tree starts. So I think all that stuff is really, really cool, and now you're back at Eastern being the head coach, right?
Right. Yeah, I've kind of jumped around a little bit. I started at Vincennes Rivet. I was young, like 23, got my first job. Coach Andy Eigel, who's my mentor, and he helped me get that job. And then I went from there. I went to BNL and kind of coached under Damon for a couple of years, and I was fortunate enough to get that job. And then I went to Bloomfield, won the first sectional with my son, and I kind of came back home at Eastern Greene.
Oh, that's really special. That's really special, Pat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Jamie, with it, we're going to kind of claim we're kind of South Bend based. So you're talking about places. You're talking about a foreign country to a lot of people up here. So give these guys some, kind of a geographic. You're what, south and a little bit west of Bloomington. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. So Eastern Greene is just about 15 minutes southeast or southwest of Bloomington. Right off 45.
My question, it's been a couple of years since I've been down there. How much of I-69's finished right now? Can you get there from here?
Oh, yeah. So you can go straight from 69 from Evansville all the way to 465 now.
Oh, it's all finished.
Yeah, all finished. We're still working on some things in Indy, but you can still, you're
but down in your area, it's there and finished. Yeah. And so I just think I looked at a map. You guys have got what's the highway? It's got a 3-number highway. Is it 4 something or
465 there in Indianapolis?
Yeah, but when you get off of 69, what's the exit to go to school?
445.
445. Yeah, state. It's a state highway. Yeah. What town is your mailing address?
Bloomfield.
No, the reason I mentioned to Scott, I said there was one.
Hey, let me ask you this question. What's all this got to do about the NCAA tournament?
It doesn't matter. We're taking care of business.
We're a high school podcast, first and foremost.
We are.
I'm just messing with you,
when
man.
we were at Madison, Eastern Greene, I think had a summer basketball tournament, and we went over there for that. I just remember we came up through Bedford to get to it.
Yeah.
And from Madison, so. But I don't remember any big towns. I think I remember a blinker light someplace. It might have been over maybe by the middle school, and because the games were at 2 different places. I think we played some at the middle school, and then I'd go back to the high school later in the day.
When I was the head coach at Edgewood, we played Eastern Greene. Now Edgewood was on Highway 37. It's only a 2-number road. It's Highway 37, only a 2-number road. But we played Eastern Greene, and Eastern Greene was always really, really competitive. Now you remember Bill Hahn, right, Pat?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Hahn coached in Michigan City, was an assistant at Ball State. Bill Hahn was the head coach at Eastern Greene for a year or two, probably when you were really young, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he coached like the John JMV.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And
I live in Indy, so I listen to John every day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's kind of.
Well, so hey, who's better, me and Pat or John or JMV? Put you on the spot.
Ooh.
I love you guys, but man, I got to stay with my homeboy JMV.
No. Hey, I hear you, man.
This is amateur hour right here, buddy.
No,
There's a good amount of Southern Indiana representation down at the artist formerly known as MS Communications between Rakestraw and JMV.
Yeah, Rakestraw he's down on the river.
And Dan Dockett spent a good amount of time down
he's
there.
A region guy.
So you spent time with Damon, and obviously Damon. Damon is a, it's just super. So I'm coaching at Edgewood, and Damon's senior years, everybody is moving that game to like Market Square Arena, to big venues, and Damon's junior year, we're playing at Edgewood, and they come to me and they say, "Hey, do you want to move this game, to maybe Market Square?" I said, "No." I said, because I still think that I can win this game. I don't care about how many people are there. I want the home court advantage, and I want all that stuff, because to me, it was trying to beat Damon, right? Mm-hmm. So I bring 2 refs in from Indianapolis, and they're used to calling Indianapolis games. And so, it doesn't matter to them if it's Damon Bailey or if someone from Warren Central. The only time in Damon's career that he ever fouled out with about a minute left. And I got a kid named Rhett Dallas who transferred from Bloomington North. And Rhett missed 2 free throws with maybe a second or 2 left. And Bedford beats us by a point. But talk about your relationship with Damon a little bit and what he was like to coach with.
I got to Damon's cousin is Jason Spear at Bloomington North, and so Jason and I were college roommates, and so he's like, "Hey, you want to work some Damon camps with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I love Damon Bailey. Of course, that's who we all looked up to. My generation did." And so I started working basketball camps for him. And then just become really, really close friends with him. And when I took the Vincent's Reveille job, I was down there for 2 years. And I remember what happened this day. I was laying on a couch taking a nap. My wife gets a phone call from Damon and says, "Hey, I need Jamie to come to be coach with me at B&L." She wakes me up, and she tells me that. I said, "Tell him he's crazy." And so next day I call him. I call him next day. I said, "Are you serious?" He goes, "I'm not taking this job unless you're my JV coach." I hear I am a varsity coach, and I'm like, I can't tell Damon Bailey no. Never have, never will. And so I followed him there, and my wife and I just had our second child. So she's at home, and Vincennes with 2 kids under 16 months old, and I'm going to go back and live in Bedford and just come see her on the weekends. So, yeah. And so good thing I've got a strong wife that understands basketball. Yeah. And so she moves up about, so this happens right at November, and then she moves in. We get a job. She moves up in January, and I'm his JV coach for 2 years, and he gets out, and just so happened I get the job. And I wasn't looking for it. I thought, man, if I can go there and be a 4A JV coach, I can get a nice 3A, 2A coaching job somewhere. And then I was the head coach there for 9 years. And as we all know, it just takes that one parent and to get you fired. And I was let go there because I didn't play a freshman kid enough on the varsity that year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Hey,
that's tough, right, Matt?
Yeah, it is. Heck, that story about calling people and saying, "Hey, I need you over here." Does that sound familiar when you got that Mishawaka job? Because I got the Mishawaka job, and Pat's back in South Bend. He's not coaching. I'm living happily ever after over there. I'm over at Holy Cross.
That's my first call, man. Hey, Pat, come on over, man. Let's do this and let's have fun. And I think Pat did it for 2 or 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And every day, and this was like religion. Every day we would walk off the court together, and we would say, "What, Pat?"
We'd say, "Can you believe we're getting paid to do this?"
Yeah. We're still messing with basketball, still messing with kids, and Pat and I see each other every day and just hanging out, kind of the way you are with your coaches and all that kind of thing, man. And really they're paying us to do it.
Right. I'll tell you one coolest thing.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Right. The coolest thing we did was Damon took us to Lubbock, to Texas Tech, and we spent 3 days with Coach Knight, and that's when Beard was there. Chris Beard was there, and so Pat Knight was there, and so that was a cool behind the scene. We got all behind the scenes moment there, and that's probably one of the highlights of my coaching career, is spending 3 days down there in Lubbock.
Yeah, Damon and Coach Knight had a really special relationship. Sometimes it was a good relationship. Other times it was a tough relationship because Coach I don't think he ever meant anything negative to Damon. He was just trying to toughen up Damon, I think. And Damon had his way for such a long time in Southern Indiana. Here's a good question for both of you guys. If Damon is playing basketball in Indianapolis, let's say Damon is at Warren Central, and he's getting hammered every game with players from Lawrence North, from Lawrence Central, from Southport, from every place. Is Damon as good as he ended up to be from Southern Indiana because he wasn't playing that kind of competition?
Oh, for because he's going to raise the bar. That's
a great answer.
I think because
that's a great answer. What do you think?
Because
what do you think, Matt?
I agree. I think he had his own set of standards, and you needed to, no matter where he was, that's how he was going to play.
And I think I think that all panned out in the state championship game when it wasn't Southern Indiana that he was playing against, and he dominated that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Damon Bailey era was really something special, and then for you to have the opportunity, Jamie, to go work for him, and then B, take that job over Danny Bush and all those great players who went through that program at that time. That had to be so special for you to spend those 9 years there. And even though it didn't end the way you wanted it to end, just that whole time period had to be really special for you.
Yeah, it was a cool moment. I love Coach Bush. Coach Bush would be a guy I would always go to and just ask for advice, and he'd give you advice, and very, very supportive. And the community was really great there. And but to last at BNL for 9 years, and that's a long time, and especially in that hotbed. And a lot of the people there still were waiting for Damon to walk back through, and and that wasn't happening. And Coach Bush always told me, he said, your sectional would have been a regional / semi-state. That's what people don't realize.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. What about the games that you two guys played against each other, Pat? When you played against you, did you play against Jamie's teams?
Yeah, 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
We're in the same conference, so we had to. When they were, I think Scott was there all 3 years.
Sophomore, junior, and senior.
I think the home team won all 3 games. And
really?
And we went to Bedford twice. So,
and that was a long drive. That was a long bus ride.
Yeah, both one way, right, Jamie? It's close to a good hour and a half, isn't it?
Oh, I think it was good, almost
maybe
2.
closer to 2. Yeah. It's kind of an Anderson to Logansport trip, is what it amounts to.
Yeah, I hate that. I mean, I hate that only because the length. But when you were going to Logansport, especially when Eddie Schelling was coaching at Lawrenceport, you were getting his best man at his wedding, you were getting his uncle, and you were getting the next door neighbor to ref the game, man.
Well, remember, I was in that section.
Logansport. I
was in that sectional, so at least we had IHSAA officials when we went over there. But we had to go to the Berry Bowl. When I was at North Miami, we had to play at the Berry Bowl for those 5 years.
And then you probably got Hoover down there in the corner yelling at somebody. Who knows?
There's no telling what was going on. There was all kinds. I had Hirschberger was there, and Scotty and those guys, Shantio and some of those guys. Hey, before we jump to college, give us a couple Barnheiser stories, because I was reading in here talk about how Barnheiser there at your home games, you had a stage at one end. So he'd put the band down there, and that's the end where the visitors shot the first half. So they were shooting into a background that had the band, and then second half the band went on a break, and they closed the curtains to the stage, so you guys would have a better background when you were down there at that end. Is that some of the stuff he pulled?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
You still do that?
No, because we play at the now that's turned into something else here at the middle school.
That's okay.
But because we play at the high school now. Yeah, I mean, we had probably the smallest locker room in the state of Indiana. And so, at that time, coach was probably 6'2", 6'3", and then you got a bunch of us in this locker room. Probably maybe 5 by 8 room. I mean, it was a small room, and You can only imagine. You guys know Coach Barnheiser. I mean, he's pretty intense, and he got his point across a lot. And with all of us sitting there in that tight room, it was interesting.
I can imagine.
So, you played really hard for Coach. I'll tell you that much. It wasn't. There was no easy days of practice. We beat each other up Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. And when Friday come around, we were ready to beat on someone else.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's how that's how I grew up.
Right.
When I was at Anderson, I loved game day because game day was a day off for me because of the people I had to guard during the week.
Yeah.
No question about that. And Mark would shoot with you guys in the morning. Mark was a great shooter, wasn't he?
I've never seen anything like it. And because he would shoot in the mornings and during the middle of the day, during lunch, after school. I mean, he'd bring us in, like I said earlier, at 6:30 in the morning, 7th, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And we play pickup games. And you're talking about intense ball games, fights. He loved to do. I mean, he chirped with the best of them, but he backed it up. And he had that work ethic and that drive. And we're a farming community at that time, and so him yelling at us was like, heck, we go home, we get that at home. I mean, this is nothing. We just all right. And so I think it took him a while to get adjusted to us because he came from LaPel.
Right.
He wasn't much of a farm boy.
He was a city boy.
Right. And so to understand, like when our dad says there's hay to put up, you go put up hay. You don't come in the open gym. You got to put that hay up before you can go, or there's tobacco to put up or there's cows to do. I mean, that's just what we had to do. And I think that took him. And I think Scott Miller, Coach, did a phenomenal job because Coach came from a farming community and he understood all that. And so he was kind of like the relay between us and Coach Barnheiser for that reason.
Yeah, that's why you guys ended up to be as successful as you were, not only in wins and losses, but in leading young men because of the things your father put you through, and then you go and you play for a coach that's going to put you through the same stuff, and so that's all you knew. I mean, you didn't know any different as to how to work because that's your dad did it, your coach did it, and so going through a 2.5 hour practice of getting hollered at and screamed at and all that stuff, that was normal for you guys.
Right. And then I think Coach did a great
job. Try doing that today, right?
Oh my goodness. I've got a parent trying to get rid of me because I didn't give enough compliments.
Oh Lord.
You just like what? And so, but I think he laid the foundation because he left. Coach Igo came in and he just built, and so for like a 20-year span, Eastern Greene was the real deal. I mean, I think we had like a 700 winning percentage for 20 years. I mean, that's just unheard of around here anyway.
Well, and you were mentioning, heck, listen to this. Who's in their conference this year? They've got Bloomfield, Linton Stockton, and North Davies. That's wow. 3 of the teams in their conference that they compete with just in conference during the season.
JB's coaching at Bloomfield, isn't he?
Yeah. He's got a boy there. That's where his wife's from.
Well, let's talk about the college a little bit. What's going on? The girls are playing tonight. Matter of fact, there's a 7:00 game, I think, with the girls. Their Final Four is tonight. But
I'm looking forward to that one. The South Carolina versus Caitlin Clark. That should be a dandy.
That should be a dandy. Can they guard her?
Yes,
I think they will.
I think they can. I think those girls are. They've got their coach's mentality, and I think they're out to shut her down. Now, I don't think you can shut her down, but I think they're going to make her work at it.
She's going to have some bruises tonight, I think.
Yeah, she's good, and I think I saw where she may come back.
She's just a junior, isn't she?
Yeah. So I heard in an interview today say she may come back because she loves college basketball, and she said she loves selling out and playing in front of Iowa fans.
She reminds me of kind of a young Diana Taurasi. I think her future, she's going to be the next big name in the pros because I think she's a Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi type player where, she doesn't care. And the other girl I liked was the was the blonde girl from Louisville. I can't remember her name, the left-hander.
Yeah.
But they went at it pretty good. I remember one of the games that she's all, and she chirps too. She talks crazy, but she backs it up.
Yeah.
I think in that Iowa game, she said something to Clark, and Clark, you can see Clark go, "Shut up! You're down 15."
Yeah.
That's a bad time to start.
Yeah,
she was talking.
That
game's tight. That game's tight, and you want to talk a little bit. I got no problem with that. But when you're down 20, man, just get out.
Yeah.
Just get out.
She just said, "Shut up."
So all right. So it's Florida Atlantic against San Diego State, right?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, I think it is too. And I think San Diego State and San Diego State has a lot of older guys on that team. Am I right on that?
They're pretty veteran.
And so why not in college basketball now? Why not stay? Why not get 3 hots in a cot? You're getting a little bit of NIL money at San Diego State, not a lot. I mean, you're not getting the $800,000 that the kid from Miami is getting, but you're getting some money. And you got a girlfriend there. You got something going on.
You got Coral Gables. You got a beach.
Yeah, and why be a second round pick?
They're in Boca. I'm sorry.
And why be a second round pick and end up in the G League when you can stay in San Diego and play basketball and enjoy life, right? I mean, it's a whole different atmosphere now than it used to be. That's why when I saw Hood Schifrino getting out and being a one and done. I mean, he must have
something's going on.
Well, he must have some people telling him from the NBA that you're going to go in the top 10 or something, because those kind of kids end up going to the G League, D League, or whatever it is, and life's tough. I mean, they have money, they're getting paid, but it's not like it would be in Bloomington hanging out and playing college basketball. So who are you taking? So who are you taking in that Florida Atlantic game?
Jamie, what do you think?
Are you even really asking?
But here, tell us something. Tell us something we don't know.
So that's a tough question, only because there's loyalty there to Dusty. There's Eastern roots there, but there's also, I mean, you're a basketball guy too, and you know the basketball programs, you know the basketball teams of both of those situations. So are you taking FAU just because of your relationship with Dusty, or are you taking them because you like his team and you think that they can beat San Diego State?
I think they could beat San Diego. I'm going to talk as a coach. I think they got the talent to beat them. I think they're tough. You don't win 34 games and not just be that Cinderella team. I think it may be the first to 50. Because they're both really good defensive teams.
I was going to say first to 50.
I think it's going to be an ugly, grind-out game.
Well, the scouting report they used for Tennessee, to me, would be a place to start, because Tennessee was, I think, a similar team to what San Diego State presents. You know, where they're just going to get down in a stance and they're going to defend the heck out of you, and they're going to be physical, and they're going to push and shove until the referees tell them they can't do it anymore.
Because.
Everybody said they couldn't do that against Tennessee, and look what they did.
Exactly.
If you read some things, they said watching Florida Atlantic work out, they've never seen a team like that work out the day before the NCAA tournament team.
Said they were in the weight room the day before, and they were moving weight, is what somebody said. They weren't going through the motions. They were moving weight, and it was the day before.
That's interesting. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Todd Abernathy also being an assistant coach there. Todd's dad, Tom Abernathy, played at South Bend St. Joe, where I'm from, and I kind of grew up with Tom. Tom is a couple years older than me. Tom went on to have a great career at IU, played for his high school coach, Bob Donald, at IU, and then went and maybe played 3 or 4 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. Tom had 2 twins that played at Carmel and were really, really good. They were about maybe 6'6", 6'7", and then Todd came along. Todd played at Heritage Christian High School, I believe, and then went on to have a great career at Ole Miss, and ends up with Dusty over at Florida Atlantic. Do you know anything about that? How he got there by any chance, Jamie?
No, I don't know if I don't know that relationship at all.
And then there's another player from Century 21 who I believe his name is John L. Davis, maybe.
Yes.
Who's a good player, who's a really, really good player for Florida Atlantic. And he's from the region up here. So I'm excited to see that game. I'm excited to see Indiana high school tradition and roots and all that kind of stuff emphasized during that game. I mean, I too think that Florida Atlantic can win that game. I mean, I really do. I think they're well coached. I think that they can win that game. And lo and behold, it's the Eastern Comets, right? If I remember, is it the Comets?
No, we're the Thunderbirds.
That's right, the Thunderbirds, man.
The Eastern Kokomo, I think, is the Comets.
Yes, the Eastern Thunderbird in the national championship game. Let's take a look at the other bracket, Pat. What do you think of that one?
Ooh, that's gonna be a fun one. You know, I like UConn a bunch. I just like the way they play. You know, some of the guys were talking on the radio earlier about how hard they are to guard, and they were talking to Hurley about how, you know, most teams now are all, you know, ball screen this, ball screen that, and they do more than that. And that's what makes them so hard to guard. They cut, you know, they do a lot more basket cuts than other teams. So they combine the basket cut along with the ball screens, and then defensively they just get after you. And they were talking a lot about how different teams are playing the ball screens with the drop coverage and stuff like the pros are doing, and how UConn a lot of times goes to a hard hedge instead of the drop coverage, and they mix it up, and it just makes things hard on people. So they were talking about both ends of the floor. But again, then you deal with Miami. You know, Miami's just good. And I've liked Miami from the start. I mean, when they did the draw, I even wrote down, I said, watch out. I like Miami. Watch for Miami. I mean, when I saw them in the conference tournament, in the ACC tournament, I said, I don't care how they do, they're going to go a long way in the tournament. And I got lucky on that one. Even though I didn't pick them, I said, watch out for them.
Let me ask you this question, Jamie, a basketball question. So what is your philosophy on how to guard screen roll? And I mean, everything like slides down from the top, like the NBA is going to play that drop coverage. So now it slides down to the college level. Then eventually it'll slide down to the high school level. I used to always trap it. I used to like to get the ball out of the ball handler's hand. But I don't, I mean, like myself personally, I don't like the drop coverage because I think it all hedges on that guard getting over the top. And ball players are so good today. They can just get into that little pocket and make that shot. How do you guard that?
I love switching everything. I've been switching everything and take my chances and tell my guard to get over to meet him right there and just, you know, try to really just be strong and physical and don't let that big get down there. But honestly, in our league, you don't see true bigs anymore. Nobody wants to hop down there anymore. You know, they all want to shoot that three, you know, and so we don't see much bigs anymore. But if we switch almost every ball screen.
Don't give away too much intel because you never know who's watching and trying to scout.
Oh, we're running a clinic. We're gonna sell this and
well, there's a million there's a million coaches that have a million ways of doing it, and so like, I mean, coaching today, it's so easy because all you got to do is hit huddle, right? There's no driving around going to pick up films. Remember when we used to drive around in snowstorms and risk our life for a VHS tape? I mean, remember that?
Tape.
Now it's just pushing a button on huddle, and anybody can get whatever film they want to watch.
Yeah, well, I love those days. I mean, it was hard. I mean, that made it. I mean, you had to work. Hey, we're going to meet at 6:00 at the Dairy Queen.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. No, exactly. Some coaches wouldn't trade with you. Basil Malby would never trade, and I said, Basil, come on, man. I'll give you 10 films. Just give me one, man. And he, you know, Basil was really protective of what his team did and what he wanted you to see. But I like the switching stuff, and especially like you said, because it's a screen and pop now.
Mhm.
And so I can switch a guard onto a big and let him guard on the perimeter. And then if he slides back down, switch it back down and let the big go guard him back in the post. Or I like trapping that. I remember watching 2 years ago when DeSumo played for Illinois and they played Loyola in the tournament. And Loyola trapped that ball screen 100 out of 100 times. And the coach from Illinois never adjusted with it and stayed with it to the end and played against the trap the whole time. So I'm glad to hear you say that you like to switch. I mean, I love switching. And I don't think high school kids are good enough passers really to exploit those advantages that might happen on those switches anyway.
Right. And if I have a big that's not very good, I would probably jam it,
Mm-hmm.
and just, and stay there if he's not good enough to guard that. But that's just something you got to practice, you got to practice over and over.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the hard hedge. It just seems like in high school, they want to call that block a lot when the big jumps out there and that guard just, does that whatever move. And they always want to call something on the big because they don't like the bigs. Bigs are always in foul trouble,
Yeah, so I don't think I ever went into a game with just one coverage set. I think
Right.
I might have had maybe 2 or 3 coverages to maybe rotate and see which one was working. How did you defend that, Pat?
Well, one of the things I would do is, like, if it was a side ball screen, I forced them to reject it because everything we tried to do was try to keep the ball out of the middle. So I didn't even want them to use that pick and roll. So when we knew there was a pick and roll, we'd actually jump up have the ball defender actually jump up on the high side of him so they couldn't screen him.
What about the screen roll at the top of the key?
At the top,
Yeah.
most of the time we'd do a soft hedge. We'd do a soft hedge and just step out and show. And that was one of the things that a lot of teams, would step out. So one of the things, when we ran that offensively, we would start, instead of having the kids go left to right or right to left, where it was a distinct, decision where you knew what was going on, where you would read it. Like when I was at Madison, I'd have those kids, like Nick Macon was my point guard, and I had him literally come straight down the middle of the floor. And I'd have him come straight down the middle of the floor, almost to the point where we were setting a back screen where the defender didn't know whether to jump out left or right. And then at the last minute, he might just take a little step, like a halfback, getting ready to plant his foot and cut up field. And then he'd either cross or he'd stay, and we would do that. And then sometimes we'd have the big just completely slip it. If we knew they were going to switch it, they're at the top, we'd have him slip and run a ghost screen on it. And he'd slip it. And a lot of times you'd catch, they'd have 2 guys up on the ball and he'd be wide open.
Don't you guys don't you think, guys, it's kind of funny that they're calling ice and, all these things they're calling now, we were doing in high school? Coach, I know you're probably doing they're doing all stuff like we were already doing that, like the Euro. Heck, I did that. The Pro Hop. I did all that. I remember that.
Yeah. And now they give them names and they think
they give them names.
They give it names. I know.
I will say
Chandler Thompson, when I coached at Ball State, Chandler Thompson was really one of the first players to really execute that jump step move and come down on 2 feet.
Hunsaker called it a step dribble hop.
Yep. Hey, so listen, I'm taking Miami. All right, I'm taking Miami. I like Larinaga. I mean, his guys get up and down the court. I think they're a little undersized, but they play much bigger. And I mean, I don't know if the $800,000 man Nigel Packle will go off as much as he has in the past. But I think Pete Bell. No, not Pete Bell.
Pete Bell.
Not Pete Bell from Blue Chips.
Come on, Blue Chips.
If Pete Bell was coaching now, all that stuff would be legal. And the tractor he gave to Ricky Rowe, no one would say a word.
Jamie, you missed our Tuesday episode, Jamie. That was he came in. He had the whole script. I'm sitting there going,
oh yeah, no. The house he gave to Butch. I mean, the house he gave to Butch, that'd be legal now. And Neon didn't even want a car. He didn't want a car. But if he gave it to him now, it'd be legal. So I think Coach Larinaga gets to the Final Four, and I think him and Dusty go at it in the championship game, man.
How cool would that be? You're 43 miles apart. Go for it.
Wouldn't that be
They
something?
got to go all the way to Houston to play.
Have two Florida teams playing each other. They don't even play during the season, do they?
I don't think so.
I bet they will. I bet they will next year.
Well, I don't think that Coach Larinaga would want to play Florida Atlantic because he knows how good they are. It's like at the high school level when a 4A would schedule a 1A, you would never do that if you thought the 1A could beat you. No. So when I was at the Wigwam, it was if you want to come in and play against us, I'll give you some money to come in if you want to bring your 1A team in. And I did it with Wayne Barker, and Wayne was coaching, was the head coach at Bluffton. And Wayne's son was on that Bluffton team. And Wayne said, heck, he said, we ain't very good. And my son wants to play a game in the Wigwam. How about, I said, Wayne, I don't schedule my guys, man. Stop. He says, heck, we ain't going to be any good, man. I said, all right. I said, I'll give you this amount of money, bring your team in, and you're not any good, right? He said, we're terrible, heck. It comes in, they shoot 78% against us in the second half and beat us. And now we're getting beat by a 1A school. So I think it's kind of like the same thing at the college level that Larinaga would say, I can't play Florida Atlantic because they could come in and they could beat me.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, guys.
It'd be like Louisville playing Hanover or something.
Yeah. Listen, I got to go here. But hey, Jamie, it was so cool catching up with you, man. I've watched your career from afar, and I know you're an outstanding coach, and I'm happy that you're still doing it. You're back home, and you get a chance to go home and hang there and relive that every day. I mean, you go in the gym and you relive that every day, and keep doing that. I mean, us old coaches here now. I sit back and I watch some of the guys and the guys who do it the right way, like yourself. I mean, I feel really good about that. So congrats on your career and keep rolling and, keep wearing the shirts, man. Keep supporting Dusty. All right. And someday give me a buzz. And if you get that answer, why the Bobby McGee, why she lets Bobby McGee go? I mean, let me know if you come up with that, man. Yeah. Pat, you're the best.
You're crazy.
I'm going to see you.
All right.
I'm going to see you in about a week. All right, yep. Scotty, you're cool. And great time being on the show. Get that out there and have people watch this a little bit. And 2 slaps and a coach.
Here we are.
We're going to keep going after you leave, just so we can talk about you.
Yeah, no, hey, keep going and talk. Whatever you say is cool. I deserve everything, man.
We can talk behind his back just as easy as we can talk to his face, right?
Hey guys, it's been my pleasure to talk with you guys, and I will catch you when I get back to the bed, Pat.
All right, enjoy your week. Enjoy your week.
Take care.
All right, see you.
Scotty, be cool, man.
Always.
Peace.
All right, let him get settled up. Jamie, I told you he's a character.
Yeah, I've heard stories about Coach. I've never met him, but I've always heard stories. So it's nice to finally meet him. And put a face to the name.
Had a chance to talk with him. He was at Edgewood. I think he was at Richmond. He was at Knox, believe it or not. When he was young, he was at Knox for like 1 year. Then he went to Richmond for a year or two as junior high. He and McCullough were together over at Richmond, and then he was at Edgewood. He was at Wapahani. Actually Wapahani, then Edgewood. Then he went to Ball State and was on the bench with Hunsaker when they went to the Sweet 16.
Played UNLV.
Yeah, they got to play the Running Rebels, Larry Johnson and the boys. Wow. So he was on the bench when Chandler Thompson dunked over Stacey Augman out there in Oakland. So a lot of those good stories. So, but my connection with him is he's from St. Joe and I grew up in Anderson. And we found out we played against each other in high school. Didn't even know it. We were on the JVs together back in the 70s. Right. And then by the time we were juniors and seniors, I think that was when the energy crisis ended, and we quit playing St. Joe at Anderson. We started playing Carmel and some of the teams that are a little closer. Right. So, but anyways, we've kept in contact since I think I was working Ball State camps in the late 80s. And that's when I first met him. And then when he got the Anderson job, I was in town, and one thing led to another, and I was back and forth. And then I got the job up here in South Bend, and he'd come up and visit, and I'd bring my teams down to the Wigwam and played. I think we played down there 3 or 4 times. I think we won one.
Yeah.
We won one. So, well, anyway, listen, we'll go ahead and finish up. This thing, Scott, fill us in. This will be on be on YouTube.
It'll go on YouTube as soon as I hit end.
So as soon as we're done, Jamie, anybody that wants to, for whatever reason, that would want to watch this, a tape of it, it'll be on YouTube, and Scott will have it there, and then he'll also have it set up where it'll be on audio, so you can listen on Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. Our Tuesday show from 3 nights ago, they said we had 250 people. Yeah, we had 250, which was one of the bigger numbers we've had. A lot just live that were listening to us like right now. Mm-hmm. And then Scott, you said that you've had over 100 YouTubes since then that have watched it since then. And I think on Spotify and Apple, I think I looked and there's been like 75 or 80 that have listened to it just in their car, tune it in on a podcast. So I don't know. We had Allison Hayes. No hard feelings. She's a little prettier than you are, but
yeah, she is. I saw that.
She's like does the Channel 57 up here, which is our ABC affiliate, and does a lot of Notre Dame. But she's on the IHSA network, so like state finals, she's the sideline reporter, and she's the one like after the game. If you watch the state finals this weekend, she was the one that was out like interviewing the Trester Award winners and the coaches and stuff after the game, and she did like the halftime where she'd grab the coach at halftime on his way to the locker room and get 30 seconds from the coaches. So that's what she's been doing.
Tell her no.
Yeah. So, but she's a Niles girl. She's a tennis player. She went to Florida. She was a tennis player at Florida, and then came back up here and got into radio and TV. So
I think I put it on my Facebook account my Facebook, and I wonder if we'll get some Southern Indiana people like to listen.
I saw you shared it, and it had a pretty good reach. And ostensibly people come to us for basketball, not to just chit chat about our podcast numbers. So here, since I have a chance to get a word in edgewise, I've been lucky enough to grow up in Northern Indiana, but then go to high school in Southern Indiana. So I've kind of had the good mix of the big gyms. So question for you being down there, what's your favorite notable gym to play in, and what's your least favorite? I loved playing at Seymour. I hated playing at like Floyd in New Albany.
Yeah, Seymour was great. Especially when we were pretty good at BNL and we played, New Albany in the sectional final or Jeff in the final, and that place you get 7,000-8,000 people. That was a really cool place. I don't know if I can see where you say Floyd. I mean, that's just kind of like a dark dungeon kind of play in. Mm-hmm. I've played in some really cool gyms. I like the old small gyms like Washington Catholic I played in as a player, and that's really cool. I coached at Vincent's Rivet. I think the max population was like 800 people we could get in the gym, but you get 800 people in there and you think you got 5,000.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think.
And see that west of 37 for me is a foreign country. Those little like Vincennes where you are, Eastern Greene. I mean, I've been to Eastern Greene. I've been to Bedford. That's it.
That's crazy.
So I would, like if I've never been to Orleans, I've never been to Bloomfield, I've never been to the Hatchet House. That's just an area that we've never been to.
Well, I'm sorry. If you get a chance for the Hatchet House, oh man, that's right up there. And then Orleans, it's like a bowl, and they'll do a prayer before the game starts, which is unbelievable. I love that. They keep God in that community, and as a Christian, I love to see that. So I mean, I love the small schools. I love going in there. I don't know if I have a least favorite gym. I just
don't want to say it too loud.
Yeah,
it's okay.
But you still coach. And, I was at the Career Academy the last 2 years, which is a charter school up here. So I got to experience 1A and 2A basketball in Northwest Indiana. So I got to do all the Porter County schools like La Crosse and Judson and Couts and Morgan Township and little places like that. Because they have fought consolidation over there, just like down where you are, where, I'm sure everybody keeps talking about, the word consolidation's like, you're a communist if you even think
Right.
about it,
Right.
because it's just not going to happen. And that's the same thing over there, because those places their enrollment's the same. Like La Crosse only has like 105 kids in the whole school.
Mhm.
And they changed their name this year. They're now called something else, Tri-Township or something.
Oh.
But
I
it's not
think
even,
I don't know how Northern basketball. I've never played. I've never coached in the North, so I don't know. But like, I think Southern Indiana basketball is like, I always say it's the hotbed, and the gyms down
It's
here.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're packed.
Yeah.
Still to this day, they are packed gyms down here to watch Friday and Saturday night. I mean, we have you go to North Davies and Bar Reeve, they have the Buggy Bowl. So, I mean, so you got Amish people, Mennonites coming in, driving their buggies to watch this, the Buggy Bowl. And so I think if you ever get a chance to come down and witness the Buggy Bowl or,
That's
a
interesting.
Bar Reeve, Washington first game of the year matchup, there's nothing like it. It's just Indiana high school basketball in the South is crazy.
It's
a
still
religion.
it's still pure. It's still the pure sense of it. Scott, we mentioned in the late 90s, we went over to a Westview, and it's Amish country. And we pulled into the parking lot, and I had all these city kids, and they'd never been over there. And it's like, we probably, what are we doing over here? And they also saw these horse and buggies that were all tied up to the fence, the backstop behind home plate. I mean, they were lined up probably 30, 35, 40 of them, all the way between the dugout behind home plate to the other dugout. That's where they tied their horses up and their buggies to go in and watch the ball games. Mm-hmm. And we went in there, and everybody had their little hats on and stuff like that. Our kids had never seen anything like that before. I hadn't anything like that before.
Well, they love their sports.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it was interesting for me at Madison, having grown up in South Bend, playing the big schools, and I think the only famous gym in Indiana that I haven't played in is the Hatchet House. But like the first time I walked into South Ripley, which is, not very big, I'm looking around, I go, this is it? Where's the rest of the gym? Because, walking into Seymour or Northside Gym in Elkhart or Michigan City or Richmond or the Wigwam
or BNL.
BNL's got a big gym. Heck, Madison had a big gym. It had like 4,500 or so. And like the home games against Southwestern for us, I mean, the place was sold out. So, I mean, it's just, it was different in Southern Indiana than it was in Northern, because especially in South Bend, you had 4 city schools competing for people to come to games. But then, you get down into the South that, you're the only show in town.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And if you look at if you ever watch the state finals, to me, the South always brings more people than the North.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
I mean, it's just a way of life down here, and it's great to see. And I mean, they're diehard. I mean,
well, that's why you can get that's why you can get those in the Hall of Fame. Always, they can. Their bet is, let's get me a small school from the South, because they're going to bring people up here to Newcastle. They'll go to Newcastle. But then you get Ben Davis or Penn or somebody like that. It's no big deal. They're not going to go. They can't get their people to go there.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just part of it. I know when we were at Madison, probably the toughest thing for us, Madison was, it was one of those in-between size schools, and you had your conference games on Friday night, and we had to work our tails off to keep from getting our brains beat in. And then on Saturday night, you played one of the little county schools. You played a 1A or 2A team, and for a lot of them, that was their Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And our kids were tired; they were beat up, and we had a half of a scouting report. And I don't think I ever beat Switzerland County. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that, because it was no big deal. They weren't in our sectional, they weren't in our conference, but down there it was important, because you need to beat those people. Or Southwestern, same thing, as a 2A school. I didn't care. They weren't in my conference, they weren't in my sectional, but they were the neighborhood school. And it was like, you need to beat Southwestern, you need to beat Switzerland County. Those games were more important than going to play Jennings County or anything like that.
Or BNL.
People.
Yeah. I mean, when I was at BNL, you go play Mitchell, and Mitchell's not beating BNL one time in the whole rival. They say it's a rivalry,
Yeah.
but no, if you don't beat Mitchell by 30, well, you're not any good. Well,
Right.
you
But
know,
Mitchell,
when
home
you were
of
there,
Gus Grissom, by the way.
you said
Yes.
I think Orleans was really good when you were down when I was down there. And
Yeah.
I just remember the topics. Nobody wanted to. No, the big schools didn't want to play them because what can you gain if you beat them? You're supposed to, and if it's close, you're a dog because you let them stay. And if
we
they
picked
beat
them
you,
up at we did, and they beat us on our
Yeah.
on our floor, but they were good. I mean, they're better than we were. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty simple,
exactly.
You're not.
Exactly.
You're right. And I never shied away from a big game. I don't care if you're 1A, 2A. I wanted to play the better teams and try to make my kids better. And sometimes that come to bite me in the rear. But it was a great experience for our kids to go down there and play.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Well,
I
and
agree.
Madison was in the unique position in the Hoosier Hills. We'd have a Friday game against. I'm looking at Harold's website right now. Our one Friday game was New Albany, and then we turned around like 4 days later and play at Greensburg. So it's like or even our it was because we're playing up in the conference, and then our peers for the sectional games are Sean Sellers and Bryant McIntosh.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you got to play the defending state champions. Yeah.
And we won, by the way. Never forget, we went to Greensburg and won.
Yeah. I just
It's different, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's different. Even when I coached in 2010, 2011, when I had those good teams, even over time, it seems like the game's getting a little different. I think parents are getting way out of control. I think they're ruining the game a little bit. I don't know if it's that pure. Everybody's got these trainers now, and we can all do this great stuff one-on-one, but then when they get out and start playing, they have no idea how to play. Well,
I know it.
That just so trying to get the kids back in the gym to play. We do a lot of small-sided games, so they learn how to play.
Right.
And we play a lot of pickup just so because they don't. The kids don't play a lot of pickup, so we try to do that so they learn how to play the game that way.
Yeah, I think there was one weekend down there when we had Cloverdale, Seymour, Scottsburg. They all came over to our place and we just played. There were no referees. We went cross court, went in the other gym, and we said, get your best six, take them over here. Get our best six. They're going to go down there. They turned over, said, "There's no referees. Call your own fouls. Blah blah blah. No arguing." The kids loved it.
Yeah,
they loved it. And the parents, parents went up, sat in the balcony, and we just said, "Shut up and watch."
Right.
But you have to simulate the kids, going to the park because they won't go to the park anymore.
No.
So you had to be the park for them.
Right.
So anyway,
listen,
Jamie, I know I'm going to let you go. We're going to get out of here. So Scott, we can get some stuff. Well, I know it. This is good stuff.
Well,
this is kind of what we do.
So official picks are FAU and who else on the other side? Are you taking UConn or Miami?
Man, I'm going UConn because I think they're hot. I think UConn's hot. I think they're playing really well right now. I just think they're on another level. I don't think Miami has. I just don't think they have the strength to beat UConn. I think they're in level, and I'm staking with my boy.
You got to.
Well, yeah. Well, and I listened to Dusty today on Pardon My Take on the Barstool podcast, and he had mentioned that they are like 300th in the country in size, but they're like top 20 in rebounding. So I mean, it bodes well for them because they can. It's like I said when they were going to play Tennessee. I said it on this show. I don't think FAU is going to give Tennessee a chance to try to out physical them because they're just going to shoot over them, and they did. I looked at the score just now. Tennessee was up 5 at halftime, and then Florida Atlantic came and beat them by 20 in the second half. So I think if Florida Atlantic can avoid a muck game with San Diego State, they've got a chance against UConn, and I think UConn's going to win the other side too. But I don't know. I seem to be pretty good at predictions. I also thought that who was it? Kent State was going to beat IU in the first round. So
I did too. You never know.
I just had that.
I tell you what, though, it's great to see FAU reward Dusty for these last 5 years of hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to make a mill, which is great. I think he's got 10 million to play with for upgrades. I think he gave an assistance. I heard, he wasn't
assistants
anything unless the assistants got some raise. I think they showed some loyalty to him because he's been showing loyalty to them all this time. And I think I've heard he turned down the other jobs to stay home. Like you said earlier, Coach, why would you want to leave Boca?
That's a good point.
Millionaires, and they're going to be happy now. I think they're going to throw money out, NILs. I think this is the Gonzaga of the South. It could be the Gonzaga of the South if he really wanted it to be.
That's a good call.
Think of who you have leading the two major sports programs. Dusty May's coaching basketball and Tom Herman's coaching football. It's not like Tom Herman's some nobody. He was a coach at Texas, coach at Houston. He was the assistant coach at Ohio. He was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State when they won the national championship. I mean, they're got a good thing going down there, and being in South Florida definitely helps.
It's kind of a Miami North
year, right? ASUN next year.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Hey, thanks. We will be back here. You can the people that are listening. We will be back here on the 11th of April on a Tuesday because I think John Overmeyer, who's usually with us, has a baseball game. He's sports information director at South Bend Clay, and he's got to work at the baseball. So we will be at Bar Louie in Mishawaka live. So you can tune in to broadcastsport.net, which will be on the webcast, and we'll be live at 6:30 on Tuesday the 11th. And we'll do this again and go from there. So enjoy the ball games this weekend. Jamie, thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, thank you.
Yep. And if any of that sounded confusing, go ahead and rewind the video. There was a QR code just below the center circle. It's there strategically for a reason. Scan the QR code. That has everywhere we are. So there you go.
That's why he's here.
I try to make it easy in as few words as possible.
That's why he's here.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, go to broadcastsport.net, do all that. All of our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or at IND Coach's Corner. And until next time, we will get out of here and talk to you guys later.